CZ had a interview with not so fast. Goddamn. Had an interview with CNBC talking about basically their solvency and do they have the ability to, basically give back the money that investors have put into Binance if they all wanted to take it out at the same time, similar to what we saw with FTX, whereas FTX didn't have those funds and they were insolvent, and that's what created their own bankruptcy, and then uncovered a lot of things, right? Uncovered obviously the blatant fraud that was taking place and whatever else. Now, I'm not saying that CZ is in that same boat, but there is some questions now of whether or not CZ was using or is using investor funds to support other ventures. And so that's going to be part of the conversation we have today. But first, I wanted to kind of show you the parts of the interview that was taking place over at CNBC. Some of this is actually quite funny as it was from a Twitter account that I posted within our own Discord. So make sure you guys just take a look at this real quick for about a minute.
Oops. No audio.
Standard for reliability, solidness in the space.
Do it. Would you be able to handle it if somebody asked you for $2.1 billion back? Would that be okay? Would you be able to still withstand things?
We're financially okay.
Including you have $2.1 billion to give away. If somebody came to claw that back, you'd still be fine?
We'll let the lawyers handle it. We are financially strong.
Well, what a lawyer handle.
Even after
actually, yes, no question, but
last year, we had $500 million worth of it. $580 million worth of it on the day when we transferred from the address we received a year and a half ago. We never touched it. We actually kind of forgot about it.
But thus far, you haven't disclosed your liabilities. And I wonder why that is and whether you will.
Yeah, so we are working with firms to do the audited financials, liabilities, etc. But the audits don't reveal every problem. So,
no, but an audit from a Big Four auditor would reveal that, CZ. If you could get a Big Four auditor to say that, if you're saying that some of them don't want to work with you, that raises questions too. They don't want to work with you because you don't have the files and the data that would make them feel comfortable signing off and giving that stamp of approval?
Actually, many of them don't even know how to audit crypto exchanges. They don't really when they audit, they're very used to auditing a firm.
Does Coinbase, CZ, Coinbase has a Big Four. Coinbase has a Big Four auditor?
Actually, I don't look at Coinbase. We don't really look at
I think so, though.
I don't know the details.
They understand it well enough.
Deloitte is the auditor for Coinbase.
So they can figure.
You have some experience. Would you be able to handle it if somebody asked you for 2.1 billion?
All right, so you guys get the idea. CZ was scrambling that entire interview and kind of like was super dodgy with all the questions. And for me, I call bullshit on a couple of things. One of the things was that crypto firms should be audited differently than a regular firm, which liabilities are liabilities no matter what business you're in, at least in my opinion. And I don't understand that type of response at all. And audits reveal everything. So if CZ has been preaching about transparency and everything else, then why should having a full-blown audit rather than just showing proof of reserves be such a problem for him? And why is he being so dodgy about it?
So they're trying to apply traditional finance to the crypto space. So, for example, as a bank or an exchange, as a bank, you get to fractional reserves. You get $10 and you can multiply that in loans out. And of course, the risk by doing that is there can be a bank run when those 10 others try to go collect their money that you just pulled out of the thin air. Mm-hmm. So it's a difficult proposition, or we just have to get to the point, or crypto overall has to get to the point where they can actually demonstrate or do the liabilities in a almost translate it to traditional, because in the crypto world, the way CZ, my understanding is, they built it to its 1-to-1. So if whoever's put money in, they can pull it back out. And there's been billions being pulled out in the last few weeks, as we've seen. The key is, or the challenge here is, how do you do an audit? And that question that we had just mentioned, how there's an attempt to an audit, and the organization that was doing it even quit auditing crypto overall, like got out of the industry itself, yet they still do audits. So there's something going on back there that is it.
Right.
We have to see what that means.
And that's you're referring to Mazar's auditing firm, one of the big four. You guys saw the other one in that interview that Coinbase has takes place with their auditing. Which again, if Coinbase can do it, Binance should be able to do it. That's
correct.
At the end of the day, that's why I was like, this seems really fishy and really odd. One of the other questions that was asked of CZ was whether or not you used customer funds, and again, dodging that question too, and just being really wordy about it when it was a simple yes or no question. So it's kind of like now he's being grilled about this kind of stuff, and I'm not saying that it is Sam Bankman-Fried like answers, but they're definitely not good answers, and he hasn't been handling this very well at all.
Yes or no, followed up with we'll let the lawyers figure it out.
Right.
Not a good look.
I from my perspective though, he's trying to follow his lawyer's legal advice. They're like, hey, we need to do an internal audit at the same level to make sure we are exactly where we need to be, is my guess. And he's just following his lawyer's good advice, unlike Sam Bankman-Fried, who just blabs in spite of his lawyers telling him to shut the hell up and puts himself in a hole.
It's not doing him any favors, right? I mean,
I'm not arguing that at all.
Like,
I'm saying he's simply being by the book.
Yeah. He's being by the book, but also being contradictory. And I'll use another example. He said that they don't owe anyone, but they have leverage. So if you don't owe anyone anything, so you haven't taken a loan out on anything, especially with customer funds, where's the leverage coming from? What are you leveraging? And what money are you leveraging? Where did the $5 billion come from that you invested in on Twitter? Like, why can't we know that information if you claim to be as transparent as you say that you are?
So when you stake within Binance, my understanding is you're actually, unlike staking outside in a node traditionally, you're actually staking liquidity for liquidity. So it's customers choosing to stake their tokens that they've deposited to provide liquidity for the leverage. So if you think about it, it is using customer funds, but it's the customers approving that they use their funds for this staking to provide liquidity, if that makes sense. So I can see where the legality comes into play of, okay, this isn't done, let's say, by Coinbase. Coinbase got shot down for doing staking, where the SEC even threatened them for doing that. So that's where the big questions are arising now. It's like, okay, there's no legal framework for it, yet it's being done, but it's outside of US jurisdictions versus FTX was doing it. But of course, we all know what they were doing with the funds on top of the liquidity aspect of it. Right. But truly, there was no liquidity. There were all IOUs versus CZ. So far, if you want your funds out, no one's had any problems pulling their funds out. It's gone into the billions so far. So I think it's a lack of regulatory clarity. Coinbase was building under regulatory scrutiny, making sure you're not commingling funds, you're not doing these things. So they built it under US law of what was available on the corporate side. Binance has gone to friendly crypto jurisdictions, but there's a lot of freedoms, quote unquote. It very risky or not, that's remains to be determined once there is a full audit of his liabilities versus his proof of reserves and everything else, and brought it all into a single picture. So yes, my concern is Binance, is there a shot across the bow that's about to occur from the government in such a way that will trigger this last leg down because of this struggling to explain or struggling to demonstrate, or just simply not opening up the books? Because the other risk, if I were in his shoes and I open up all my books, it's like it's a target for competitors and others to go after it and hit the jugular and bleed the company out because they know where the problems lie.
Yes. I think that's certainly a risk. But again, we're talking about CZ and his his communication with like the public via Twitter, talking about transparency and how important that is.
Correct.
So is it only important when it's convenient or when you may
Right.
not be at risk? Like, so I guess my big question is, you are a user of Binance, is that
I've
correct?
used them, yes.
Okay, so you have used them, but do you, so, and you know, on this channel we've all kind of been in CZ's camp. After these past couple of weeks, do you have genuine concerns about Binance and what could be happening under the hood, or do you think this is more FUD than anything?
It's a blend of the two. So of course, trust but verify. Well, I trust that my cold wallet is where my funds should be. So I do
Dirty
that.
shovel gang. Yeah.
There you go.
If you don't have a ledger yet, please do yourself a favor. We have a link in the description. Get yourself a ledger. Do it right now if you don't have one. Like, get a ledger. Because if this Binance stuff goes sideways and your crap's there and you come crying to DCTV, we're gonna tell you, hey man, that really sucks. Did you get a ledger? You're gonna say, nah, dude, I wish I did.
Yeah.
So, but
finish your thought.
Looking at so how does an exchange should an exchange make money? Is through the transaction fees. So that's the mechanism. So you can see that, or you can hear, we haven't seen that he has not over leveraged these funds because the leverage is what killed the other one, where they just transform it into IOUs and bought condos, bought everything else with it. So Binance should be acting with fiduciary responsibilities with their depositors' money, their investors' money. And the only way to prove that is through, of course, transparency. So that's the shoe I believe this will be that trigger, or it could be something coming in from left field. But in terms of what Binance has been building, yes, I actually believe in what they've been building, like they even built a DEX, which is a decentralized exchange, but it just didn't have the volume. They realized that the centralized exchanges where people are familiar with it, so they'd rather send it there. But the fact that you can pull your funds and no one's had any issues pulling out, it should tell you that, okay, he's building it correctly. The key is, okay, why are you hesitating? Why are you bringing in attorneys, looking at it from an external point of view of why the shiftiness, or not direct yay, nay, you know what, and give a reason for it instead of deferring to the attorney. So there must be something going on from the attorney side with governments at this very moment.